Hello students, myself Dr. Amol Rahane welcomes you to the today's lecture. In this lecture, we are going to study the course Physics Principles and Applications for FYBSc Semester 1 Paper 2 as per the revised syllabus of Savitribai Phule Pune University CBCS 2019 pattern. In the first two chapters, we have studied the physics of atoms. In the very first chapter, we have studied the physics of atoms, where we have studied different atomic models for the atoms. Then we have studied the second chapter, we have studied the lasers. So we have studied what is meant by laser, their different types, their characteristics and applications. So in this lecture, we are going to study the chapter 3, physics of molecules. To begin with today's chapter, let us first study the introduction. So we know the atom is the smallest individual unit of matter. We have already studied in the first chapter that it is the smallest indivisible unit of matter. So there are 118 elements known so far. Each one is distinct in terms of its physical and chemical properties. So we know that there are more than 118 elements that we know today, and each one has distinct physical and chemical properties. So each element is characterized by atomic number, right? So that atomic number represents the number of electrons in that atoms. So these electrons in the atom, they vary in the amount of energy they possesses, and they occur at certain energy levels. That means not all the electrons in an atom they appear at the same energy, but they are occurring at certain energy levels, or they are taking positions in different energy levels, because each energy level can occupy only certain number of electrons, and these energy levels we can call as electron shells, right? So we can see in this diagram, so we have different cells. So the center one is the nucleus, then we have the outermost shell, that is the K shell, then we have the L shell, then we have the M shell and N shell. So we have different number of different electron shells, and we have given the names K, L, M and N to these shells. So again, each such shell has different number of electrons it can occupy. That means the innermost can occupy only 2 electrons, the second one can occupy 8 electrons, then the third one can occupy 18 electrons, and fourth one can occupy 32 electrons, and so on. So we have studied the energy levels. So electron shells determine how an atom behaves when it encounters other atoms. So these shells, they determine how the atom behaves when it encounters with other atoms. So that shells are very important. The first shell can hold up to 2 electrons, we have already seen, and each shell thereafter can hold up to 8 electrons. Each element has different number of electrons and hence different electronic configuration. So that electronic configuration we can see, for example, for hydrogen we have the electronic configuration 1s1, right? For helium we have 1s2, right? For lithium, which has 3 electrons, so we have electronic configuration 1s2, 2s1. Similarly, for carbon we have 6 electrons, so electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. So we all know this electronic configuration, so I will not go into detail. Let us see the example of this neon. So neon has 10 electrons, so its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. We have seen in the case of helium we have 2 electrons, so it has the first shell, and in the first shell it can have only 2 electrons. So we can say for the helium the innermost shell, or let's say outermost shell, has only 2 electrons in it and it is completely filled, right? Similarly, in the case of neon also, what we have is the second shell. That second shell we can see here, it is represented by these 2. It has these 2 orbitals, s and p orbital. So each the total number of electrons are in the second shell are 2 plus 6 equal to 8. That means we know that in the second shell we can have only 8 electrons, right? So in the case of neon, the second, we can say that the second shell is filled, right? In the case of carbon, we can say that this shell is empty because its electronic configuration is not complete, right? It should have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. Accordingly, each element has fixed location in the periodic table. So each element has different place in the periodic table. It is because it has different number of electrons and its electronic configuration is different, and because of that its physical as well as chemical properties are different, and therefore they occur at different places in the periodic table. So let us see the periodic table, right? So in this periodic table we can see these are the groups and these are the periods, let us say. So we can say these are the first group element, these are the second group elements, right? So there are 18 such groups in the periodic table, right? So we are concerned with the shell closing. Let us see in the outermost shell what we have here. Let's say for the 18th group or the last column in the periodic table, what we have is helium, then neon, then argon, then krypton, then xenon and radon, right? Here what we have is all these elements, their outermost shell is completely filled, and because of that they appear at the special position in the periodic table, and because of that we can say they are inert gases. All are the gases, so they are inert gases because their outermost electronic configuration is completely filled, outermost shell is completely filled, and because of that when they interact with the other atoms, so we can say since their electronic configuration is their outermost shell is completely filled, their interaction will be different as compared to the other element, right? So each such element has different place in the periodic table because of its the varying number of electrons, right? Now the elements in the last column in the periodic table, they are called as inert gases or noble gases. They are chemically inert because they have attained the stable electronic configuration. So we have seen in the case of helium and in the case of neon, they have attained the stable electronic configuration, that is 8 electrons in the outermost shell, right? Except helium, which was having only 2 electrons in the outermost shell, that configuration we call it octet configuration, right? So each element try to attain the octet configuration. So each such element try to attain the octet configuration. So we have the octet rule. So octet rule states that the atoms tend to gain, lose or share electrons so as to have 8 electrons in the outermost shell, right? And because of that the electrons, we can say atoms, they can gain electron or they can lose electron or share electrons to other atoms in order to have the 8 electrons. So this is octet rule. So now let us study the bonding mechanism. So we have already discussed there are 118 elements known so far. For all these elements, they can combine with each other under certain conditions. That under that conditions they give rise to compounds, particles called as molecules or simply compounds. So when the 2 or more than 2 atoms they come together, they combine, they can form molecules, right, or compounds, right? So the process of formation of these compounds by combination of two or more atoms of the same or different elements to form molecules is known as chemical bonding, right? So chemical bonding is the process of formation of these compounds by combination of two or more atoms of the same or different element. The element may be same or different. They come together and they form molecules, and this process is called as chemical bonding, right? The result of this phenomenon is called as chemical bond, and the result of this phenomenon is called as chemical bond. So we will see what is meant by chemical bond. So atoms or ions are held together in molecules or compounds by chemical bonds. So chemical bonds, they hold together the different atoms or ions in the molecule. The term bond may be presumed to be synonymous with force. So just like force, we can say the bond is there. Hence a chemical bond is defined as a strong force of attraction which can hold a group of two or more than two atoms together, right? So the bond is a strong force of attraction which can hold a group of two or more atoms together. The type and number of electrons in the outer electronic shell of atom or ion are instrumental in how atoms react with each other to form stable chemical bonds. The number of electrons in the outermost electronic shell, right, and its type, whether that is s type or p type. So whether it is s orbital or p orbital. So depending on it is, we can determine how the atoms react with each other to form stable chemical bonds. A single bond binds two atoms, right? Though multiple bonds may exist between two atoms. So we know that there is between two atoms there may be a single bond or more than multiple bonds, more than one bond, right? For example, in the case of carbon, we know that carbon atom can form up to 4 bonds with other atoms, right? Two carbon atoms can form single, double or triple bonds between each other, right? They can form single or double or triple bond also in between each other, right? In the case of alkanes, two carbon atoms are joined by single bond, right? Carbon atoms can also form double bonds in compounds called as alkenes or triple bonds in compounds called as alkynes, right? So we have maybe the different types. So single bond, double bond or triple bond, right? So all these elements combine with each other according to the way their properties permit them to bond. By means of this chemical bonding give rise to more than 7 million known compounds. Also the number of atoms in a molecule ranges from 2 in a diatomic molecule such as oxygen or CO, carbon monoxide, to several billions in large biological molecules. So a molecule can have number of atoms, varying number of atoms from 2 atoms to billions of atoms. So if you see the large biological molecules, it can have billions of atoms in it, right? And all these atoms, they are connected or bonded by the chemical bond. So these interatomic forces between the atoms are basically electrostatic in nature, right? And there are direct consequence of the electronic structure of the atoms. So how the electronic configuration of the atom, that will give rise to different interatomic force. And when atoms come closer and finally unite to form molecules, their electrons rearrange themselves in such a way that to achieve a stable configuration. That means when two atoms, they come closer, they arrange themselves in such a way that they can achieve the stable configuration that we are going to study. Therefore, the properties of the compounds may differ from those of the individual elements. right, involved in the bonding due to the significant change in the electronic structure of individual atoms due to bond formation. So whatever the electronic structure of the atom, two atoms before forming the bond, that electronic configuration completely changes after the formation of bond, and because of that the properties of the molecule are different than that of the individual atoms, right. So individual atom can have different properties because of the bond formation, which changes the complete, or we can say the significant change in the electronic structure of the atoms after bond formation. So therefore we can suggest 5 basic types of the bonds. We can suggest 5 distinct types as per the type of the interatomic force. So there are different types of bonds. So bonding means the attractions between atoms or ions. There are several types of chemical bonds, namely the ionic bond, covalent bond, van der Waals bond or molecular bond, hydrogen bond and metallic bond. So there are 5 main types of the chemical bond that we are going to study in this chapter. Now let us study the forces between atoms, right. When two atoms they come closer, there are different types of forces that we are going to study. The force between atoms can be of two types, that may be attractive or repulsive. That means when two atoms come closer, the force between them may be attractive or repulsive depending on the nature of charges of the atoms or ions, we can say. So the potential energy of material is the sum of individual energies plus their interaction energy. So each atom has individual potential energy. When two atoms come closer, their potential energy and the potential energy of the molecule is the sum of the individual energies of two atoms plus their interaction energy. So here, due to the interaction, there is change in the energy, and therefore potential energy of the material or the molecule is different from the individual atoms, some of the individual atoms, right. When atoms are far away from each other so that they do not interact with each other, the potential energy is 0, right. The potential energy is 0 when the two atoms are far away and they are not interacting. When the two atoms approach each other, they will either attract each other or repel each other depending on the charges of the atoms. The potential energy due to attraction is negative, while the potential energy due to repulsion is positive, and in order to form a bond we need a negative potential energy. That means we need an attraction between two atoms, then the bond will be formed, right. So the potential energy must be negative in order to form a bond, right. So let us study the forces between the atoms, right. So we can see here, when two atoms they are very far away from each other and they are, we can say they are at infinity and there is no interaction between them. In that case, their potential energy, we can see the potential energy is like this, right. When the atoms they come closer, they form form the bond between them. In that case, the potential energy decreases. So we can see when two atoms they come closer, their potential energy decreases. There is a minimum here at the potential energy, and again if we force these two atoms to come closer further, the potential energy rises, right. So there are two types of energies, one is the repulsive energy and other one is attractive energy, right. So when two atoms they come closer, their attraction energy will be more compared to the repulsive energy. So when they come closer, the attraction energy will be more, and therefore the contribution to the potential energy is from attractive energy, right. And therefore the potential energy decreases. Here at the minimum, what we have, both the energies, the repulsive energy and attraction energy, they matches each other, right. They are the same, right. And at at this point both the energies, attraction and repulsion energy, they are same, and therefore we can say the bond is formed at this place, because at this inter atomic separation we can say the R equilibrium separation, we can say R eq means R equilibrium. So at the equilibrium separation, what we have, our potential energy is negative and it is minimum, right? So it is minimum. At the minimum value of potential energy, that means V0, we can say our bond is formed. Further, if we reduce the separation between two atoms, we can say the repulsive energy becomes dominant and dominant over the attractive energy, and because of that the potential energy rises suddenly. So there is sudden rise in the potential energy because of this. So we can say here at the equilibrium separation there is balance between the two energies, right? So here at R equilibrium there is a balance between two energies, and because of that the potential energy is minimum and we can say the bond is formed. Let us see in the animation. So in this animation we can see the two atoms, they are coming closer, right? So they are coming closer. Here when they form the bond, the potential energy is minimum, right? So this is the let us say this is the on y axis we have the potential energy, and x axis we have the interatomic separation R, right? So when the two atoms they come closer, their potential energy is decreases. So here potential energy is decrease at this point, and further if we reduce the separation between two atoms, then there will be a rise in the potential energy, right? So there will be rise in the potential energy. It is because here on the right hand side of this R equilibrium, what we have, the attractive energies dominate over the repulsive energy, whereas on the left hand side we have the repulsive energy is dominant over the attractive energy, and at this point R is equal to R equilibrium, what we have, the two forces they balance each other, right? So repulsive force and attractive force they balance each other, and therefore there is a minimum in the potential energy, and we can say the bond is formed between the two atoms. Now the potential energy is given by V is equal to minus alpha upon r raised to m plus beta upon r raised to n. So this is potential energy function where alpha and beta are the constants. R is the atomic separation. The first term is called as potential energy of attraction. So we have already studied the potential energy of attraction is negative, right? So the first term is negative. So alpha minus alpha upon r raised to m is the potential energy of attraction. So it is attraction term plus beta upon r raised to n is the second term. It is called as potential energy of repulsion because it is positive, right? So please remember the potential energy of attraction is negative and the potential energy of repulsion is positive. So when the attraction is there, the energy is negative. When repulsion is there, energy is positive, right? So these are two terms to remember. Therefore, the potential energy has a minimum at some distance r is equal to R equilibrium, that we have seen in the diagram, that at r is equal to R equilibrium what we have is the potential energy has minimum, right? For r greater than R equilibrium, that means on the right hand side of the R equilibrium the potential energy increases gradually approaching to 0 as r tends to infinity. That means the separation between two atoms when it tends to infinity, that means two atoms they are infinitely long distance between them or infinitely far away from each other. In that case what we have is potential energy will gradually increasing and it will approach to 0. At infinity it will be equal to 0, while for r less than R equilibrium, that means the on left hand side of the R equilibrium the potential energy increases very rapidly and it is tending to infinity as r tends to 0. That means when the separation between the two atoms they tends to 0, the potential energy will rapidly increase, and it will tend to infinity when the separation between two atoms will become 0. The potential energy is minimum at the point r is equal to r equilibrium, which is called as the equilibrium interatomic distance. The corresponding energy denoted by V0 is the cohesive energy. So, V0 is called as cohesive energy. A typical value of equilibrium distance is of the order of phi angstroms, right. So, 1 angstrom is 10 raised to minus 10 meter. So, it is of the order of phi angstrom, that means in terms of 10 raised to minus 10 meters or 10 raised to minus 8 centimeters, right. So that the force under consideration are short range. We can see the distance is 10 raised to minus 10th of meter, right, and because of that the we can say the forces are short range forces, right. The interatomic force is determined by the gradient of potential energy, and therefore we can say the if we take the gradient of potential energy, then we can get the force, right. So, this force is negative gradient of potential energy. So, gradient is dava V by dava R. So, negative gradient means minus sign. So, this dava means partial differentiation of this potential energy with respect to R that we have taken here. So, which is, if we take the derivative of the equation of V, so in that equation what we have, V is equal to alpha upon r raised to m minus alpha upon r raised to m plus beta upon r raised to n. Now, if I differentiate it with respect to r, then we can write minus m alpha upon r raised to m plus 1, right, because the differentiation of 1 upon r raised to m is 1 upon r raised to m plus 1 into again into m, right, plus n beta upon r raised to n plus 1 is the differentiation of the second term. If we apply this to the curve in the figure, so now let us again go back to the figure, and we see that at r equilibrium we can say for r greater than r equilibrium, that means on the right hand side of the equilibrium separation what we have, the force is less than 0, right. This means that for large separation the force is attractive, that means force is negative here, and therefore it is attractive and tending to pull the atoms together, right. So, on the right hand side what we have, the force is attractive and therefore it tends to pull the atoms together, right. Whereas on the other hand, if for r f of r greater than 0 for r less than r equilibrium, that means for left hand side of r equilibrium the force becomes repulsive at some small separations of the atoms, and it tends to push the atoms apart, right. So, the force become repulsive and it tries to push the two atoms apart, means separate from each other, right. Now, the repulsive and attractive forces, they balance each other exactly at the point r is equal to r0 that we have already seen. At r is equal to r equilibrium we can say, or r equal to r0, which is the point of equilibrium. So, at equilibrium separation what we have, the two forces they balance each other, and that point we call it r is equal to r equilibrium. At this point we have f equilibrium is equal to 0, right, and therefore the equation 2 becomes, so equation 2, that means the above equation, this equation will become, since the force is equal to 0 at r equal to r equilibrium, we can put r is equal to r equilibrium here, and f of r is equal to 0, then we can write this equation as 0 is equal to minus m alpha upon r equilibrium raised to m plus 1 plus n beta upon r equilibrium raised to n plus 1, right. Let us call it equation number 3. the equilibrium distance R equilibrium is given by, so in order to calculate the R equilibrium distance, we can calculate it by rearranging the term. So if I take this term on the right hand side, so it become positive, and if I write R equilibrium raised to m plus 1 upon R equilibrium raised to n plus 1, which will be equal to n beta upon m alpha, right. And again if I rearrange, that means if I subtract this denominator term from the denominator, so we can get R equilibrium raised to n minus m is equal to n beta upon m alpha, right. So R equilibrium raised to n minus 1 is equal to n beta upon m alpha. So this equation, let us call it equation number 4, gives us the equilibrium separation between the two atoms, right. So in order to find out the equilibrium separation, we can use this equation and we can easily find out the equilibrium separation between the two atoms where the bond is formed. At this point, the equilibrium separation where the two energies they balance each other, we can say the potential energy is minimum and two forces, attractive and repulsive, they will balance each other. So this is equilibrium separation, right. So in this lecture we have studied the different bonding mechanisms, the chemical bonding, what is meant by a chemical bond, different bonding mechanisms, there are different types, right. So we have also studied the forces between atoms. So right, what is the force, or what are the forces when two atoms they come closer, the variation in the potential energy we have studied, and we have also find out the equilibrium distance between the two atoms where the potential energy is minimum, right. In the next lecture we are going to study the one by one each type of the chemical bond, right. Thank you.